Are we ready to go back on the record?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
City's ready.
Just a preliminary matter. I don't think I covered with the witnesses who are under the rule that they should not be looking at any TV coverage of this proceeding. So I'm going to rely on each of you to explain that to your witnesses rather than call them back in. I don't think that'll be a problem. Some of them are outside. For my purposes, we don't need a bunch of witnesses standing around outside. So if you want to release them and keep one ahead, just get their cell phone number, and I don't know whether there's any just standing around outside or not, but for my purposes, I don't need that.
Yes, sir. We'll do it. But I think the ones we have are standby.
All right.
ready.
All right. Are we ready for testimony? City, call your first witness.
The city calls Karina Castaneda.
All right.
Ms. Castaneda, if you would take a seat up here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Have you been sworn?
Yes, sir.
All right. Very good. Your witness.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Karina Lisbeth Castañeda.
Ms. Castaneda, are you a former McAllen police officer?
Yes, sir.
When did you first join the department?
I believe September 16, more or less, 2007.
Okay, and did you go through the police academy?
Yes, sir.
Is that with the city of McAllen?
Yes, sir.
Was this your first law enforcement job?
Yes, sir.
Did you eventually resign from the department?
Yes, sir.
And when was that resignation?
January 13, 2009.
During the time that you were a police officer, did you go through a probationary period?
Yes, sir.
And how long did that last?
That was a year.
Were you in the patrol services division?
Yes, sir.
Is all of the work that you did for the city of McAllen as a patrol officer?
Yes, sir.
Let me direct your attention to the date of December 3rd, 2008. Do you recall being on duty at that time?
Yes, sir.
And on that date, did you have an incident with your patrol vehicle?
Yes, sir.
What happened with the patrol vehicle?
Hang on just a minute. Does anybody know how to turn these off?
Alan can help you. We rely on him for those things.
I tried to do it under settings. I take it that did not work. All right, back on the record.
I believe I was asking you whether you worked the duty shift on December 3rd of 2008. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the duty shifts in the city of McAllen, there's basically 3 duty shifts. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And during the time that you were employed, did you rotate through those duty shifts?
Yes, every 3 months we would rotate.
It would rotate, okay. On December 3rd of 2008, which duty shift were you on?
I believe 2 to 10.
On that duty shift, did you come to work around 2 o'clock then?
Yes, sir.
And you took an assigned patrol unit at that time?
Yes.
Well-
Well, I don't know if I took my assigned unit, but I know I took a unit.
Okay. And did you have a call number or a call sign?
Yes.
What was that?
Charlie 664.
So if we look at some records and there's a reference to Charlie 664, that would be you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you have a collision incident with your vehicle on that duty shift?
Yes, sir.
Okay, could you tell us what happened?
I was on patrol. I remember the beginning of the shift, there was a call regarding a pregnant woman who appeared to be intoxicated walking down the street. Somebody had called it in as a welfare concern. They had sent out a unit to go look for this individual. They didn't find her. I want to say short time later, maybe 30 minutes to an hour later, when I was driving around, I saw an individual matching that description.
Okay,
I gave a U-turn, and in the process, I did end up striking a fire hydrant.
okay. What did you do next?
I got off my unit, I looked at it to see if there was damage or anything. I didn't see anything. I proceeded to make contact with the lady. I did check down where I was.
Okay,
Then I came back to my unit. At that point, I called Sergeant De La Rosa and I advised him what had happened. I told him I hadn't seen any damage to my unit.
did you make contact with Sergeant De La Rosa at that time?
By phone, yes.
Okay. And did he
Okay.
respond, or what did he tell you?
He just told me that if there was no damage, there was nothing to my unit, to not worry about it.
Okay,
Later on, I don't know how much later, that I ended up going to, I remember stopping at a gasoline station. I got off my unit, I inspected the unit, and that's when I did observe that there was damage, that there was a dent on the grill in the front. That's when I ended up calling Sergeant De La Rosa again to let him know what had happened, or that I did observe damage this time.
do you know where it was that you stopped the second time?
It was Stripes at, it was on 10th and, I want to say 10th and Jackson, I'm not sure, around that area.
Okay, so at that point, did you, are you saying that you inspected the unit again?
Yes,
And what did you notice then?
that there was a dent on the front right side of my unit.
Okay. Some of the city records reflect the damage to the push guard, what's referred to as the push guard.
Yes, sir, that's
Is
what I
that-
meant, the push.
Is that where you noticed the damage?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do then?
Called Sergeant De La Rosa to let him know what I had seen this time around.
And why did you call Sergeant De La Rosa?
I just figured, I had already spoken to him, I would call him again to let him know what I saw, since I hadn't seen it before.
Was he on duty then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so he was one of the sergeants on duty with you on that particular shift?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
At that point,
So what happens then?
he pretty much got upset because he said it was, he asked me why I was barely telling him that. And my reply was, I just saw the damage, that's why I'm telling you right now.
Okay. Did he sound upset at you when you called him the second time?
Yes, he said that in a procedure or when something like that happens, it has to be, the supervisor has to be notified immediately, and I would have to do the drug testing immediately, not, wait an hour later or so. And in my case, I had called him later to let him know.
Okay.
and he just said he was gonna handle that.
Okay. What happens next? What do you do next?
I ended up going to a call that I had at the hospital guarding a prisoner. After that, I don't know what was the time frame or what. I met with Sergeant De La Rosa at Lues.
Okay, let me break that down a little bit. The call that you went to at the hospital, was that Rio Grande
It was at
Regional
Rio Grande
Hospital?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we refer to Rio Grande Regional, that's the hospital that you went to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that was in connection with guarding a prisoner?
Yes.
Did you relieve somebody there, or what were you doing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And had you parked your vehicle there at the Rio Grande Hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And did you finish that task? Did you conclude that task?
Yes.
Did you end up transporting the prisoner?
Yes, sir.
All right. And where did you transport the prisoner?
I transported him to the jail section, the police department. And that was it. I went back on patrol.
Okay.
And then later on, that's when I checked down to eat at Lues. Sergeant De La Rosa and I met there.
Okay. Had you prearranged to meet with Sergeant De La Rosa at Lues?
I believe we had.
Okay. Did you get there first, or did he get there first?
We probably got there around the same time, but I want to say maybe no, I really don't remember. I don't know if it was me that got there before or him. I don't remember.
By the time that you got to the Lues, did you know that there was already damage to your unit?
Yes, sir.
And by the time that you got to the Lues, had you communicated that knowledge to Sergeant De La Rosa?
Yes, sir.
So based on your communications to Sergeant De La Rosa, was there any doubt in your mind that Sergeant De La Rosa knew that there had been damage to your vehicle?
No, sir.
And once you got to the Lues, what did you all do?
Well, we ate, and he was quiet, and pretty much he said he was gonna handle this, and it was too late to report what had actually happened, and he was gonna figure it out.
Did he represent to you that it was too late to report the accident?
Yes, sir.
And what was your reaction or response to that?
He told me that it was too late to report what had really happened and that I would just get into a lot more trouble. I told him I didn't care to get in trouble. That was fine with me as long as I told them what had happened. He said I couldn't do that, and he was gonna take care of it.
Okay. What did you all discuss at the Lues?
I don't remember a conversation, but pretty much he said he was gonna take care of that.
Okay. Did you all look at the unit when you were at the Lues, or did you
No,
just-
sir.
What happens after so you're at the Lues and you're on duty, correct?
Correct.
And then he's on duty, correct?
Correct.
Did anyone else join you at the Lues?
Sergeant Chavez, but this was already when we were leaving. He just got there and he was there for maybe a minute and just left.
Okay. Do you know if he was on duty or not?
I don't recall.
Okay. May I approach the witness?
Sure.
In one of the notebooks there, would you recognize your activity log if you saw it from that night?
Yes.
Let me show you in this notebook that's marked number 3 at tab 4. What I believe is looks like a unit log listing. And let's go to the one in the back. There's one for July 3rd, Mr. Examiner, and then there's one for 12/3/08. I'm going to direct her attention to the one on 12/3/08. And this relates to Charlie 664. That's your unit, correct? correct?
Yes, sir.
Would this help you kind of pinpoint where you were at a particular point in time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recognize this as a activity log for Charlie 664?
Yes, sir.
Would that be yours?
Yes, sir.
And do you recognize that as a report, a document, standard document that's maintained and issued by the department?
Yes, sir.
I don't recall if we had admitted that or not, but I would offer it.
Tab 4 has or has not been admitted. We're talking about,
I think.
Unit log listing has been admitted, I'm sorry.
All right.
My notes reflect that it has been.
Number two, four, now does it say 4-2?
actually, what
4-2.
it's, there was an objection to the portion of it that reflects what happened in July, but there was no objection to the portion of it that reflects what happened in December. Are you offering all of it in its entirety, or just what happens in December?
For now, I'm gonna stick to December.
All right. Well, that's already been admitted.
Okay, thank you. I'm just being a little cautious about that. Okay, after the Lubies, Ms. Castaneda, where do you go?
We went back to the hospital.
We being who?
Well, I went in my unit, and Sergeant De La Rosa went in his unit also.
Okay.
Ma'am, keep your voice up, please.
Okay.
All right.
And what was the purpose of going back to the hospital?
Well, at that point, he had already asked me if I had mentioned what had happened to anybody else. At that point, he started, I guess, trying to see what he could generate as far as to what had happened, as opposed to what really happened. We went back to the hospital, Rio Grande Regional, and he was pretty much looking at possibilities of maybe a vehicle striking my vehicle my unit while it was left unattended.
Had you parked your unit when you had gone there the first time?
Yes,
Okay. And when you went back the second time, did you and he talk about like where you had parked and how long you'd been gone and that kind of thing?
yes, sir.
And did this happen out in front of the hospital?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you explain to him, where you had parked and how long you had been inside and that kind of thing?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Arbitrator, at this point, we've let a lot of leading questions go, and I'm going to object to the leading nature of these questions. I understand this is going to be a long hearing, but he's suggesting the answers and getting yes and no's from her, and that's not appropriate.
All right, I'm not going to sustain the objection. It's in arbitration. But at some point, I pay attention to whether or not it's the testimony of the counsel as opposed to the witness. Please try not to lead.
Understood. How long would you say that you were out in front of the hospital with Sergeant De La Rosa at that time, the second time you were there?
I don't remember. I don't.
Did he talk to you about the preparation of a crash report?
Yes, sir.
And did that discussion happen out at the hospital?
Yes, sir.
What was your understanding of what conclusions were going to be reached?
That he was pretty much gonna state that my unit had been stationary at parked unattended in front of the hospital while I had gone off, and during that time an unknown vehicle had struck my unit leaving the scene. Had struck my unit with its back, my unit's push guard with its back or rear.
Was there a point in time when you saw the crash report?
Yes, sir. I don't remember when though.
Okay. If you would turn to, in this first notebook here at Exhibit number 4, do you recognize that as the crash report?
Yes, I do.
On the second page of that crash report, there's a diagram. Do you recall seeing the diagram?
Yes, sir.
Is this, and was this crash report in your handwriting or Sergeant De La Rosa's handwriting?
No, that's not my handwriting.
And is the crash report, does it reflect the discussions that you had with Sergeant De La Rosa at the hospital in terms of what happened?
Yes, sir.
What was your reaction to this handling of the collision that you had had?
I was very uncomfortable. I mean, like I said, I had told him I'd rather get into trouble. But
And
he
did
said,
you-
you can't go back. I've already, I've already looked into the possibility of this happening. This is what I'm gonna put down. You can't go back.
Did you go along with that at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what happens after you were at the hospital? How long were you there?
I don't recall how long we were there, and I don't remember what happened after that. I wanna say I went back to my normal duties, and he
Does
went
the-
back to his duties.
Does your activity log reflect that you went back to your normal duties?
I mean, it does show I took other calls, so yes, I did go back to my normal duties.
Okay. Now, let's look at that activity log. I'd like to see whether we can kind of pin down some times a little more. Can you identify in this activity log, you indicated that there was a call involving an elderly woman, or?
Oh, no, it was a young woman, yes, it was, I checked down when I saw a lady matching that description at 14:20 hours.
Okay, and where is that on this?
It's the first one that says welfare concern.
Okay, on the first page of the activity log,
Well, actually, I'm sorry, I checked. Where I checked down was 10 South Main Street. That was at 16:14 hours. I want to say that 14:20, that's probably a call I was dispatched to, and that was regarding the lady. Somebody had called it in as a welfare concern.
okay. And when you say check down, is that, you'll have to help
Well, what,
me certainly read this report. What time period are we looking at?
when I actually made contact with this lady, that's what I mean by checking down. I made contact and I let dispatch, or I advised dispatch as to where I was at.
Okay.
That, according to this, was 16:14 hours on 10 South Main Street, 10 block South Main Street.
The one that says 16:14:49, quick call?
Yes, sir.
Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So 16 is, that's military time. That's about, what, 4:15 or so?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, if you could please reference where on this activity log do you check down when you go to the Lues?
thought it was here. But I did let dispatch know I was gonna be there for lunch.
Okay, lunch meaning in the evening, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you recall more or less what time that would have been?
No, sir.
Where is she on here? Do you know, is the hospital over at, on that first page, at the very end, bottom of the page, there's an entry, 19/40/23 report writing.
Yes, and actually, I was gonna say, sometimes, yeah, the dispatchers, will put that report writing when we check down for lunch. It may have been that one, but I'm not sure.
Okay. After you met with Sergeant De La Rosa at Rio Grande Hospital, does that pretty much conclude your contact with him that evening?
I'm not sure about that.
Do you know if you talked to him again later in the evening, like
I
after?
probably did.
Okay. Would it have been about the same thing?
Yes, like I said, I was very uncomfortable with all this.
Okay. Do you recall talking to him at all that day or that night?
No, sir.
Did you talk to him again at a later point in time?
Like another day?
Yes, like the next day or the day after that?
I probably did.
Now, was there a point in time when you were asked to do a report on this shift, on this incident?
Yes, I don't remember if it was a day later or days later, but I know I was told to do an IDC.
And who told you, an IDC meaning an interdepartmental communication, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we just use IDC for short, we'll know that we're talking about an interdepartmental communication, okay?
Okay.
Who told you to do an IDC?
I don't remember. I want to say it was my immediate supervisor, Sergeant Lucas Torres, but I'm not sure.
Was your immediate supervisor Lucas Torres? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so your immediate supervisor was not Sergeant De La Rosa?
No, sir.
Okay. And was Lucas Torres on duty when, on 12/3?
I don't remember.
Okay, if you'll turn on the notebook, there's a notebook there in front of you that has some tabs. There's a document here, little Castaneda 5, in notebook 2. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is it?
It's the IDC I wrote to the chief explaining what had happened.
Okay, and what's the date on that IDC?
December 7, 2008.
Now, December 3rd, I believe, was a Wednesday. We can, I'll represent to you that December 3rd was a Wednesday. We can look at a calendar if you want. But on December 7th, you're doing, is this the first IDC that you've done on that incident?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was your understanding about when you're supposed to do an IDC like this.
Whenever I would be asked for one by my immediate supervisor.
Okay. Had Sergeant De La Rosa asked you to do an IDC on December 3rd?
I don't remember.
Do you know whether you should have done an IDC on December 3rd?
No, I didn't know.
Did you ask Sergeant De La Rosa whether you should do a report or an IDC?
I really don't remember, but what I do remember is that he was gonna be on leave. And really, he couldn't help me out with anything. He said I would have to get with somebody regarding the report.
Were you, in the upper part of this IDC, there's looks like a signature and a date. Do you recognize that signature?
Yes, sir.
Who is it?
Oh, no, and actually, I don't know whose signature that is. I
Okay,
can see the signature, but I don't know who it belongs to.
Okay. Is the KC that's next to your name, is that your
Those are my
initials?
initials, yes.
Okay, so you recognize that, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall who asked you or ordered you to complete your IDC?
I don't remember, but I'm reading it and it states here that I was ordered to submit this report by Sergeant Lucas Torres.
Okay. Well, did you write up this IDC?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you write it up at the department?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall what your days off would have been back then?
I'm not sure, but I believe Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
Or- No, I really don't know. Tuesday or Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, I'm not sure.
Okay. Would you have written this IDC then when you were on duty?
Yes, sir.
All right. And in looking over this IDC, you're indicating here that you were ordered to give this report by Sergeant Lucas Torres.
Yes.
Do you have, do you have any reason to doubt that today?
No, sir.
If you would look at the this is a two-page document, correct, Ms. Castaneda?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it's signed by you on the second page?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this is an IDC that you prepared
Yes, sir.
and that you submitted to the department?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then it was submitted to the department under orders, correct?
Yes, sir.
I would offer the IDC of 12708.
Any objection to it?
No objection.
That objection be admitted.
Now, behind that IDC, and we're going to come back to it, but behind it, there's another statement by you. Do you see that? It's got an administrative investigation warning.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's telling you that you're under orders to give another statement. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the first page?
Yes, sir.
Was this a statement that you gave to the Office of Professional Responsibility, sometimes referred to as OPR?
Yes, sir.
And the next page, 2 pages, has a date of December 11, 2008, and appears to be signed by you on the second page. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what was your understanding of why this statement from you was necessary.
I remember that day. They were pretty much, well, I guess Internal Affairs and the chief were questioning what really happened, and they were really, they didn't think things added up, so they wanted me to give a statement regarding this.
Okay. Is the subject matter of this second statement then another statement by you regarding the December 3rd fleet accident?
Yes, sir.
Were you also asked at that time to discuss some prior incidents involving your unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is this the first time that you had given a report on the prior incidents prior to December 3rd?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the bottom, okay, well, first of all, that's your signature on the second page, correct?
Yes, my
Okay.
initials.
I would offer I think it's a Garrity statement given to OPR by Ms. Castaneda.
What date is that, Rick?
It's 12, dated December 11/08.
Any objection?
No objection for the purpose of this hearing.
Be admitted. That
Mr.
would be 5-2 as
Five.
listed in the, so 5-1's admitted and 5-2 is admitted.
Just for clarification, is the administrative investigation warning that precedes that second document, is that also part of what you're offering? Where she's advised about perjury and so on?
Yes. Well, it's part of the IA file, as you can see from the bait stamping.
Okay, so that is being offered along with this?
It's part of the file.
Okay.
That is.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right. The documents pertaining to the IDC dated 12/11/2008 are going to be admitted without objection. Please continue.
Now, on the other two incidents, there was another incident that appears to be involve another collision involving your unit at a restaurant called Los Cazadores. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when did that incident occur?
I don't remember, but,
Was it prior to the December incident?
oh, yes, months before.
Can you say whether it was several months prior?
Yes, June, July.
And what is it that happened there?
I had notified dispatch I would be at Los Cazadores.
Were you with any other officers?
Yes, I was with Officer Julio Barajas.
Barajas?
Barajas.
Okay.
We both checked down to eat there. Then when we were leaving, I remember we were dispatched to.
Excuse me, give me the name again.
Julio Barajas, Barajas.
All right.
When we were leaving, we heard on the radio about a call about, I don't remember what the call was about, but it was something important. There was suspects in the area and they were looking around for them.
Okay.
Officer Barajas took off before I did. Then when I was gonna make my way over there, I remember I reversed and then I went forward. At that time, when I reversed, I believe I struck a green dumpster that was in the parking lot of where I had parked.
Okay.
I got off my unit, I noticed that there was no damage, however, there was paint on my unit.
There was paint on the unit?
Paint.
Okay, what color was
Green
the paint?
Green paint. At that point, I got back in my unit, I called Officer Barajas and I told him what had happened. He asked me to get a hold of a supervisor and let him know what had happened.
Did you do that?
I attempted to get a hold of Sergeant Arenas, I couldn't. At that point, I got a hold of Sergeant de la Rosa, who asked me if I had already taken off, and I said yes. I had left the area, but I told him what had happened. And
Did you describe what you had
well,
hit?
he asked
and-
me if there was a dent or anything on the car, and I said no, that the only thing that was there was paint.
Okay,
And don't remember what he said after that, but I know I hung up with him. I went to the call and I was looking around for the in the area where the suspects were supposed to be at. Then I want to say I called him back, but I'm not sure if it was from my personal cell phone or I came back to the station and I called him from the station. And that's when he told me, here at the station, come out. I went out, he gave me the keys to his unit, and he said, give me the keys to your unit. And I didn't question it, I gave him my keys, he took my unit. He returned my unit later, I don't know how, I don't remember if it was by the end of the shift. I just know that when he returned my unit, there was no green paint on the back.
did he explain to you what he did with the unit?
No, I asked him, but he said not to worry about it.
Did you question him at all about whether this was proper protocol?
No, sir.
Do you recall whether back in July you were still on a probationary status?
Yes, sir, I was on probation.
Did you get your unit back from Sergeant de la Rosa at that time?
Yes, sir.
Do you know if there was ever any kind of report written about that collision?
No, sir.
Okay, no, you don't know, or no, there wasn't a report?
There wasn't a report generated.
In your training, had you gotten any training in which you were trained to create a report on collisions or crashes like that?
Well, to make accident reports to the public whenever they report something, yes.
What about fleet accidents in the department? What kind of training had you had?
I don't remember. I don't even, maybe they mentioned, regarding fleets to be careful or so forth, but I don't remember ever going into that. We were handed our binders where, policy and procedure, and it is our responsibility to look through them.
Okay. Did you rely or depend on Sergeant de la Rosa to tell you what you were supposed to do?
Yes, sir.
Were you, what was your thought about that handling of the swapping of the vehicles at that time? What impression did that make on you?
I really didn't think much of it. I figured, I don't know, maybe they do this to everybody and it's okay. That's what I felt.
Did it surprise you later when you were asked to reveal information about the July incident?
Yes, sir.
Why did that surprise you?
Because like I said, I didn't think much of it. I mean, I had notified my supervisor, and when I got served with the complaint, it was saying that I had failed to notify anybody regarding that incident, when in fact I had notified somebody.
Okay, and that's somebody being Sergeant de la Rosa.
Yes, sir.
So you yourself received a complaint, a misconduct complaint, correct?
Yes,
At
sir.
some point? And did it have to do with following rules and regs as far as reporting of the accidents?
Yes, sir.
And at the time that you, okay, well, you gave these two statements. Did you give any other statements? Written statements?
No, sir, not that I remember.
Do you recall ever having a meeting with the chief while you were under investigation?
Oh, well, yes, when all this came about and he did offered me, the opportunity to let him know what really had happened before Internal Affairs got involved.
Okay, did he ask you to be honest and forthright about what it was that had happened with the December 3rd incident?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall whether that was before or after you had given these statements and the IDC and the statement?
Well, I mean, I must have already given my IDC because that's when he told me things are not adding up. I'm giving you the opportunity to let me know, what really happened.
Okay. And did you do that at that time?
I went along with everything I had previously stated on the IDC due to the fact that Sergeant De La Rosa did tell me many times, do you understand you can't go back on what you've already said? This could be used against you.
Had you talked to Sergeant De La Rosa about, how you should respond to the internal affairs efforts by the department?
Well, yes, because he had, like I said, he's the one that told me you can't go back on your word. You gotta stick to your story, and that's it.
And how did you feel about that when he told you that?
Uncomfortable. I mean, it was something I didn't want to do, but I felt like I had to because I had already, done the IDC.
Okay, and you knew that the IDC was not complete or correct, right?
Correct.
And did you mention that to Sergeant De La Rosa, that the ADC was not wholly truthful?
Well, yes, he
And
knew.
what was his response back to you?
What he had said before, do you understand? If you go back on this, if you try to change anything, if you give a different story, this could get you in even more trouble.
Okay, did that scare you?
Yes.
Were you concerned that would possibly hurt you in your career?
Yes, sir.
Did there come a point in time when you recognized that this investigation into what had really happened was going to continue?
Yes.
And did you resign while the investigation as to you was still going on?
Did I resign while, yes.
Okay. In other words, you had not been cleared of the investigation as to you before you resigned.
No, sir. As my F5 will state, I did resign while there was an administrative investigation going on.
Okay. And that resignation, I believe, happened in January of '09?
Yes, sir.
And was the resignation like an immediate resignation?
Yes, sir.
Now, do you recall receiving a subpoena for this hearing?
Yes, sir.
And that subpoena was issued by my office?
Yes, by Investigator Erder.
Okay. That subpoena was delivered to you
Delivered.
by Investigator Erder?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recall that my assistant had made phone contact with you about setting up an interview?
Yes, sir.
And that the interview was to discuss, what your testimony would be in response to questions under oath. Do you recall
Yes, sir.
that? Okay. And you understood that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you prior to that interview taking place, did you make contact with the chief? Did you call Chief Rodriguez and ask to speak to him?
Well, I had already told your secretary I would meet with you
Correct?
on the day after I got subpoena, and I want to say I got the subpoena on Wednesday or Thursday, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And I told you I would meet with you Friday, 5:30. But before I met with you or I wanted to talk to you, I said I wanted to talk to Chief Rodriguez
Okay.
beforehand.
Had you kind of changed your mind about your approach to this information that you had by that point in time?
I was struggling regarding everything. Deep down, I knew, this was the truth, and I had to come forward regarding everything.
Did you understand that under the subpoena that you would be testifying here today, that you were going to be asked questions about these incidents?
Yes, sir.
And that you would have to be truthful about it?
Yes, sir.
And is that what you wanted to come forward and tell the chief?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you, do you have, do you have applications pending in other departments? Are you attempting to pursue a law enforcement career in other cities?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you apply in FAR?
Yes, sir.
Did you apply in Westlaco?
Yes, sir.
It's my understanding that you have an offer in Westlaco, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is your testimony here today about what happened on December 3rd and in July, is it honest testimony, truthful testimony?
Yes, sir.
So to the extent that your prior statements in here leave out this information, I mean, they're wrong, are they not?
Mr. Arbitrator, I'm going to stop before she answers that question. I think she needs to be given Miranda warnings, that she needs to be advised that she has a right to remain silent, she has the right to counsel, all the things that we know very well about Miranda, because those IDCs were given under oath with an advisement that if she was not truthful, that they could be used against her for perjury prosecution. So
Well,
before she answers that question and puts herself in criminal jeopardy, she needs to be advised that she has a right to remain silent. Because some statement is not correct under oath.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell her that giving her these warnings is not an indication in any way that she's under any criminal suspicion, or that she may be under criminal suspension. But I do think that because those statements were sworn to, that I do need to advise her that her testimony here may be used against her. And so that's the way I would propose to handle it. Any objection to handling?
The testimony here today?
Yes, that's right. Her testimony here today could be used against her. Could be used against her. Not that it will, but could be used against her. You heard what I had to say, but I'm going to say it again. What I'm saying to you is not that you're under criminal suspension or that under criminal suspicion, or that you will ever be under criminal suspension. But I think because that possibility may exist in the future, that I need to advise you that you do not have to answer these questions. And if you do answer these questions, your answer may be used against you in some criminal way in the future. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Please ask your question again.
Well, the question was that in connection with the departmental investigation and the IDC that you gave and the statement to OPR, okay, that there was factual information that you're testifying to today that was not included in these reports, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is it your testimony that these two reports were done based on representations made to you by Sergeant De La Rosa?
Yes, sir.
Now, have you been approached by Sergeant De La Rosa about your testimony today?
No, sir.
What about anyone on behalf of Sergeant De La Rosa?
Just Mr. John Curtis and somebody else that called me this morning saying he was also representing an attorney for Cleat, Rick Tames.
Do you know who Rick Tames is?
I've heard of him.
Okay. Did he represent to you that he was a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you know whether he is a lawyer or not?
From what I understand, he's not a lawyer.
And was the contact made to you, was it in connection with your testimony today?
Yes.
And what was the communication?
He wanted to know if I was gonna be here. He wanted to know at what time. He wanted to know if I got a subpoena. And then he asked me a personal question regarding my life. And at that point, that's when I asked him what his last name was, because he just gave me his first name, Rick. And I felt alarm. I felt like, what, is he following me? Why does he want to know? I would figured he would know. I don't know why he was asking me if I was gonna make it.
And do you know if he's somebody that works with Sergeant De La Rosa or has called you on his behalf?
I don't know if he works with him. He may be friends with him, but I don't know anything about Rick Tames.
And were you approached today about your testimony
No,
at
just,
all?
no, just
By
like I said,
anyone?
I spoke to Mr. Curtis yesterday evening.
Okay. And regarding the same thing, your testimony today?
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness.
Before we leave it, did you intend to offer any other documents?
Let me see, I believe I have those. 4, 1, and 2 are now.
That's correct.
Actually, on 4-1 is the unit log listing from 7-3-08. And I would reoffer that. I mean, subject, I understand, to the legal issues, but I can take her through some questions on that log listing as well.
Actually, aren't we talking about 5, 1, and 2? They've been admitted. That's Costanza. Report of 5 that's not been admitted is 9/25/09. I have to be very careful. I don't want to lead you into offering something. You need to tell me what you want to offer.
Okay, well, 5, 1, and 2 are in, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Yes, let me offer. Ms. Castaneda, do you recall that on Friday, I met with you to talk to you after you were under the subpoena? Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall that I asked whether you would give a sworn statement insofar as your factual knowledge about these incidents?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we call a court reporter to come over and take down your statement. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you haven't had a chance to look at that statement, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. And do you recall that the court reporter took down the statement that you gave?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the questions were similar to the ones that I've asked you today. Do you
Yes,
recall
sir.
that? And did you understand at that time that the court reporter was taking the statement under oath?
Yes, sir.
And that it could be used in the hearing today? Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
I would offer this last exhibit, sworn statement of,
Well, we've already had an objection to it, and I'm not in position to rule on it now. I'm going to have to defer. The first part of the objection is what we've talked about before, and that is what would be violated by taking a statement under the conditions that we've just set forth in the evidence. And so unless you've got that at hand, now I'm not in a position to rule on it. But as I took it from what you said a while ago, you want to do some thinking about that, looking into it.
The rule of evidence is 199.2. The rules of civil procedure, 199.2, which requires them to notice that. Now, for some reason, we don't have page 15 of the rule manual there. It starts on the bottom of page 14 and says something about the Texas Rules of Evidence and Procedure, and then it's not included in that folder. Perhaps counsel has page 15 there. That's what, tab 3? Or
Tab
exhibit
3, it's folder 1, exhibit 3, McAllen Department Office,
And that will
professional responsibilities, first page.
That will answer the question as to whether or not the contract controls over the rules of civil procedure.
We're talking about 1.
Exhibit 3. Looks like it's the 4th page in from that tab.
Well, that's the usual contract language.
This is
That's taken out of the statute, right? If there's a conflict between the contract and statute, or conflict in civil service rules, that the contract prevails, correct?
That is, but these are the civil service rules that we're looking at here.
All right. Let me get to it before I talk anymore. It's 3. Can you point me to it?
I think it was, this is the page from civil service rules, and 15 is not here, but this is where it ends and really determines. It's like the 4th page in on that tab 3, Rick.
Be page 14, at the bottom of the page.
well, I would point out that these is relating to procedures before the Civil Service Commission. This is a third-party hearing examiner.
And the
First of all,
But
stands.
the arbitrator operates under the same rules as a civil service commission. I think that's statutory.
Yes, it is statutory.
yeah, I don't have that page with me. I think here, the pages that you have out of the rules are the rules that were cited in the charging letter, so. I would also point out that the statement is not a deposition, it was a statement of a fact witness. And it
Before
was-
we get to that, let's do the first thing first. I'll get to whether or not it changed the character of the statement for you to ask her if she was willing to give a statement. She agreed to do so. But first, I want to deal with the other thing first.
Let me
I
see.
just have one page. I don't have the rest of it.
That's what we're trying to get for you.
Time is, all
It is 5 minutes to 12.
right, why don't we take recess and be in recess for lunch for an hour? Maybe we can get those pages. And what I need is, not only this, I need the contract between the parties.
I was just about to say, I have the contract here, the full contract, we'll make copies and get it for you.
Very good. And if you can get me the parts of the statute you were referring to, I'd very much appreciate that. I'll try to get back here earlier and read that. Maybe I can get you a ruling on that. Be in recess for an hour.